Yo, what's going on, guys? It's G Miners here, and we are almost exactly 1 full month away from the next raid release and day 1 for Destiny 2, which, if you guys don't know, is going to be a reprised raid, and it's going to be launching at reset on the 1st of September. Now, reprised raid means that this will more or less likely be a D1 raid that is brought into D2 for the first time ever, but some people have also speculated that it could be a D2 raid returning of those that are currently vaulted, like Leviathan, Crown of Sorrows, Scourge, and all the others. Honestly, most people just think it's going to be Crota's End that is returning based on leaks and then other things that Bungie has said. So in this video, I'm going to be fully recapping everything from the original D1 raid. And if you guys do want a Wrath of the Machine recap, I will also have that for you in the description down below, because I made a full video recapping the raid last year. Hopping straight into things with Crota's End, you first off have the Lantern Encounter or entrance, whatever you want to call it. This is super simple, and if I had to guess, like most encounters, this will likely change a lot if this raid ends up getting reprised. Simply stand on this very first hive plate to activate a bridge, and then once formed, you are able to walk to the edge of this bridge and drop straight down into the Hellmouth to start off this encounter. In here, as you're going around, you're going to be getting a debuff called Weight of Darkness. This is going to slow you down the more stacks you get, where 10 total stacks sets you at a constant walking speed. Standing by these lanterns slowly removes Weight of Darkness stacks, but the lanterns will explode after a short duration. Just follow the path of lanterns as a team, killing everything that is attacking you, and then after 16 total lanterns, you should have reached the end. Once you're at the end, you should see another hive plate, which must then be defended and held for a minute, during which ads are going to push you non-stop from all directions. And then once this has been held, the bridge behind you should be fully formed, and you just have to sprint until your screen goes white and you complete the encounter. For the second encounter, your goal is to build and then cross a bridge one player at a time. When you spawn in, there will be another hive plate that you can hold on this starting side of the bridge. Holding this plate will then start building the bridge. However, it will also be activating 2 hive totems on that same side. These are also going to need to be held, otherwise your team will wipe. Once you start constructing the bridge, a sword bearer knight should spawn in. Killing it will drop a sword relic, which one and only one player on your team can then grab. This will last 30 seconds in total and must be brought across the bridge. Also note that you can't actually cross the bridge unless you're actually holding a sword, which is why only one player can realistically cross at a time. After crossing the bridge, you're going to want to kill the Gatekeeper Knight, who will only take damage from the sword. This side of the bridge is also identical to the starting side, so there's going to be a hive plate and then 2 totems which need to be held. Your goal is to get 3 players across the bridge so that they can hold the hive plate and totems on that side, and the remainder of your team can then come over. Once again, you only need to hold the totems if somebody is on the hive plate that is on your side of the bridge, and you only ever need somebody holding 1 hive plate to keep the bridge open. So that's why you send 3 across, hold it on the other side, and then let the other 3 cross over. After everybody's across, in D1, there were some additional wizards and ogres to kill, but this could likely change if the raid is brought back, and then you complete second encounter. Just as a quick reminder, after second encounter, there was also this hallway that you had to get through until you reached Iruyut. Iruyut was just the boss for the third encounter. Here, you just get flooded with ads, and all you have to do is destroy 2 shriekers, each of which would then drop a barrier, and you could progress through the hallway. For the Iruyut encounter itself, once you've spawned in, you have around 2 minutes and 30 seconds before wiping. The encounter is actually super simple. All you have to do was kill a wizard and a shrieker on both sides of that center room where Iruyut is located. This would then drop the barrier into the room, and then you would just kill Iruyut. That's it. What makes this encounter a bit more difficult than I just covered is that to get to these rooms, there are obviously going to be ads in the way that you will want to kill. And given the time constraint, if you aren't able to kill both shriekers in those 2 minutes, Iruyut would still trigger her wipe mechanic. Once triggered, the Liturgy of Ruin buff only gives you 30 seconds to kill her before your team gets wiped. After killing her, you will reach the final encounter either after a few minutes pass or if you end up killing all of the ads in the arena. Obviously, when it comes to D2, killing 4 total enemies to open a door and then a boss would be a complete joke of an encounter, so I highly doubt this encounter would return to D2 without some serious changes, but as of right now, that is all you had to do in D1. Lastly, moving on to Crota, the final encounter. In this encounter, players are no longer able to regenerate health. For that reason, the Chalice of Light can be picked up and passed around, where only one player gets regen at a time. During the encounter, a sword bearer will also be spawning in at the bottom center of the arena, under where Crota spawns, and it should spawn nearly instantly. The sword is needed to deal damage to Crota, but before you can actually deal damage to his health, other players need to shoot him to bring down his shield. Each time his shield is removed, he is then going to become vulnerable and kneel down, where 3 to 4 sword swings can be done to deal damage. So you would typically have your relic holder sitting nearby, ready to jump up to the platform that Crota's on, and then call for them to go up for damage right before his shield broke. You are able to break his shield and then damage with a single sword, I think up to 3 times total if your team is optimal and very quick with it. So you could break shield, damage, break shield, damage, break shield, and then damage one last time. Then your sword would run out and you would need to get another sword through a sword bearer and then repeat this process. After using up 2 full swords, there is also a wave of ads that spawns that needs to be killed before more sword bearers can be spawned in. This wave also had 2 ogres that would spawn in, which dealt a ton of damage and were super tanky. Other than that, the only major mechanic that I didn't cover is the Oversoul. This was a white mechanic that would spawn in anytime someone on your fire team died. It was a giant glowing green orb or wall that spawned in behind Crota and would need to be destroyed quickly, otherwise your team would wipe. And that is pretty much the entirety of the Crota's End raid. On the hard mode version, which was the old, I think 390 light variant of the raid, there also weren't any new mechanics. Really, it was just scaled up versions of enemies that you were killing, making things a bit more difficult. Now, obviously, I've said it a few times already in the video, but this was D1. The game was much harder at base, at least in my opinion, so I feel like easier mechanics felt more difficult back then. But now with D2 and all the power creep we have with OPS weapons and the 3.0 subclasses, I would imagine if this raid is what ends up being released, it's going to come with some pretty major changes. And obviously for a contest mode clear for a reprised raid, there would be a second run with challenges to do as well. Champions are likely to be in the lantern and bridge encounters, and I wouldn't be surprised if an entire new encounter was added or if something like the Ear Ute fight was drastically different. Hopefully we do get confirmation soon as to what raid is released, but Bungie usually waits until the very last minute. If you guys are interested in seeing more prep videos for the raid release and day 1 raids in general, let me know in the comments down below, and I do also stream a ton over on my Twitch where we do low mans and speedruns. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.